Hello and welcome to Miniature Adventures. I'm Big Lee, and this week I want to discuss victory conditions. Are they essential or unnecessary? So today's video grew out of a conversation with my mate several months ago in one of our regular Monday evening online paint and chat sessions. We discussed if there was any need for victory conditions at all, especially when we're playing friendly games in the shed of war. And if we must have them, how should they be measured? At the time I took a load of notes and they almost immediately got sidetracked by something else. As I mentioned before, I'm a bit of a butterfly. As is normal with our weekly chat lessons, there was a lot of opinions, ideas, banter, friendly debate about this question of the need for victory conditions. So why do we need victory conditions at all? Most tabletop games, of course, will contain some sort of victory condition built into the rules. This could be first past the post, who has the most goals, got the highest score, collected the most gold, etc. Similarly, war games are designed to end with winners and losers. It's a competitive tussle after all, and short of fighting to the last figure on the table, you need victory conditions to determine when the game has ended, who has won, who has lost, and sometimes to what degree. Now at this point I'm just going to go through three common examples, ones that came up in this conversation. So one of them would be last person standing. It's pretty basic, but it's very clear. Not realistic in any historical battle I've played, of course. When defeat becomes a massacre, there's really no need to play on. However, it is ideal for things like survival games featuring zombies or aliens or something like that. Then you could use army breakpoints, which impose some threshold level of losses beyond which an army is deemed to have broken and the commander has lost the battle. Inevitably, this will mean some in-game admin to record casualties, fatigue, loss of objectives or killed commanders. My personal preference is to keep this off-table admin to a minimum so that players can concentrate on the table and of course concentrate on the little metal men we've spent ages painting. Instead I prefer to use markers, tokens, etc. But I recognise that's not everyone's preference. Now I actually did a video on this subject, so I'll try and remember to put a link up here at some point for you. And then there are terrain objectives. They're a common way to measure victory in a game by pushing the enemy off a certain objective, such as towns, villages, high ground, fortifications, crossroads, etc., to get to points that reflect the control you have achieved. But equally, points can be attributed not just for taking objectives, but also those that held against an attack or those that are lost to the enemy. There's lots of different ways that you can assign victory points. It can also have more narrative terrain objectives, which are less about the points and explaining why this objective is a battle winner. These are just three examples, not meant to be an exhaustive list by any means, but just some of the ones that came up in the conversation. As I alluded to a little bit earlier, victory conditions can also help to determine the degree of victory or defeat inflicted. So rather than just a win, a draw or a loss, you could have a major victory, a minor victory, a draw, a minor defeat, a major defeat. This can be very useful in campaign games where subtlety of outcome can influence future games. Personally, I like to see graduations of victory or defeat in a game because it lends towards a more narrative outcome rather than just a quantitative one. And now I'm going to play devil's advocate and say, are victory conditions actually unrealistic? I usually play games that do have victory conditions of one kind or another, but this isn't always the case. Kriegspiels usually don't have victory points or clearly defined measures of victory built into them. Instead, the determination of a general to fight on and his army's willingness or ability to carry out his orders tend to define the conclusions of such games. Historical generals, of course, don't tot up their victory points after their battles, so it could be argued that this is a better way to define the end of a battle and who has won. That's entirely true, of course, but we are playing a simulation, usually with time and space constraints. For one-off battles, fought in isolation, such abstract measures do help to bring games to a clear conclusion. That is until the post-game banter starts, of course. Then, like pundits of all types, the armchair generals will analyse, debate and redefine the outcome as each sees fit. So maybe victory conditions are just an unnecessary and futile attempt to impose order on the chaos of the war games table. Well, that sounds like a good point to ask, what do you think about victory conditions in wargaming? Tournament games aside, do you think they have a role to play in historical wargaming? Or would you rather victory and defeat were defined by the willingness of the generals to hold the ground and their army's ability to continue to to carry on the fight. As always, I'd love to hear your views and your experience on this subject. Please join the conversation in the comments below, and just as with every post-game debate I've ever experienced, I expect there will be a wide variety of opinions. So if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe and share, and if you want to keep up to date with weekly content from the channel, please tap the bell notification icon. So until next week, stay safe, keep gaming, and of course, keep rolling high.